The Stoic doesn't eat for pleasure. The Stoic eats for power. Not the power of muscle, but the power of mind, clarity, control, discipline. You think it starts in the gym. You think it starts with a journal. But no, it starts in the gut. Most people feed their cravings, not their clarity. They chase taste, not focus. They indulge, then wonder why their thoughts feel fogged, their emotions unstable, their energy scattered. The Stoic sees the pattern, and they break it. Because you can't master your emotions while being a slave to every craving. That's where Fibermaxxing comes in, not just as a diet trend, but as a daily discipline. Fiber is boring. It doesn't reward your dopamine. It doesn't make your taste buds dance. But that's exactly why it matters. Because the Stoic chooses boring. If boring leads to strength. They don't eat to escape emotions. They don't snack out of impulse. They eat to serve the body, so the mind can be free. Psyllium husk, beans, leafy greens, chia seeds. These aren't just foods. They're a training ground. Every tablespoon of fiber is a quiet reminder. I control the input. I choose what enters this temple. I set the rhythm, not my hunger, not the culture, not the urge. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You must build up your life action by action, and be content if each one achieves its goal." Each bite of clean fuel is one of those actions. No drama, no excuses, just aligned behavior. And something happens when you stop eating like everyone else. Your focus sharpens, your energy stabilizes, your sleep deepens, your cravings fade. But more importantly, your mental resistance grows. Because you're not just training your body, you're training your boundaries. You say no more easily. You delay gratification with less pain. You stop chasing taste and start chasing truth. This isn't about being extreme. It's about being intentional. It's about saying, I don't need food to numb me. I don't need flavor to feel full. I need strength. I need presence. I need alignment. And it starts with the gut. Because when your gut is steady, your mind follows. When your digestion is clean, your thoughts flow without resistance. When your body doesn't beg for junk, your soul doesn't beg for chaos. This is Fibermaxxing, but not as a trend, as a philosophy. The Stoic sees food not as pleasure. The world eats to feel better. The Stoic eats to be better. There's a difference. One is emotional, the other is intentional. You see, most people don't eat food. They eat emotions, stress snacking, lonely eating, reward binging, and every time they do, they trade clarity for comfort. But the Stoic knows comfort isn't nourishment, and indulgence isn't freedom. You can't crave your way to control. You can't binge your way to peace. You must choose your inputs, like a gatekeeper, like a strategist, like someone who knows what they're building. That's why Fibermaxxing isn't sexy. It's not flashy. It doesn't go viral for its taste, but it works, because it's discipline in disguise. Fiber-rich foods slow you down. They calm your hunger. They balance your digestion. But more than that, they remove the mental chaos that comes with unstable eating. No sugar spikes, no crashes, no shame, no guilt, just rhythm, stability, focus. Seneca once said, "No man is free who is a slave to his body." And that includes being a slave to cravings, to emotional eating, to addiction masked as culture. So the Stoic steps away from the noise, not to punish, not to prove anything, but to reclaim authority. Because every decision to eat for function, not for impulse, is a step toward inner control. The gut is the first battlefield. It affects your hormones, your thoughts, your sleep, even your resilience to stress. Train the gut, and the mind follows. So the Stoic doesn't eat reactively. They plan, they prepare, they ritualize the simple. They drink water with intention. They eat fiber with purpose. They chew slowly, not just to digest, but to observe. How does this make me feel? Is this serving my clarity? Is this an action of alignment or escape? Most people eat until they feel full. The Stoic eats until they feel clear. It's not about restriction, it's about rhythm, a rhythm that sharpens the mind instead of fogging it. You've felt it before, that post-meal heaviness, not just in the stomach, but in the mind. Sluggish thoughts, impatience, overthinking, irritation over nothing. That's not personality. That's physiology. What you feed your body becomes the filter of your mind. That's why the Stoic doesn't chase fullness. They chase focus. When the world eats with eyes, they eat with awareness. They don't fill time with snacks. They don't soothe boredom with food. They don't sedate discomfort with dessert. Instead, they use food as a sharpening tool. Every high-fiber choice is a silent discipline. Less sugar, more emotional control. Less grease, more clarity. Less excess, more presence. And here's what happens. Once your body trusts you, once your gut no longer expects chaos, once your routine becomes nourishment instead of stimulation, your mind responds. You wake up lighter, you speak slower, you pause longer, you react less, because the noise inside has faded. And where there's less noise, there's more signal, more intuition, more control, more mental space to lead. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But how do you claim that power when you're constantly battling crashes, cravings, and confusion? By starting where no one looks. The plate. The Stoic doesn't use food to escape life. They use it to face life fully. To eat with intention is to say, I'm here, I'm aware, I choose. No autopilot, no binges, no fog, just discipline, served quietly. Others may laugh, mock your routine, say, you're too strict, or live a little, but they don't see what you see. They don't feel the stillness you've earned. They don't understand that every bite you don't take is a piece of power you reclaim. Let them chase flavor, you chase focus. Let them numb, you lead. Because the Stoic doesn't eat to fit in. They eat to stand out, internally. Most people can't hear their own thoughts, not because the world is too loud, but because their body is inflamed, stressed, overstimulated, heavy. Their gut is fighting them. Their food is confusing them, and their habits are robbing them of presence. But the Stoic eats to return to stillness, because when the gut is quiet, the mind speaks. That's why Fibermaxxing matters, not for trends, not for vanity, but for access. Access to mental clarity, to self-command, to peace. High-fiber eating reduces noise. It lowers inflammation. It steadies energy. It clears the path so your mind can move freely, not in overdrive, not in survival, but in presence. Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." We waste it when our gut is bloated, when our thoughts are distracted, when our body is in rebellion from the very things we gave it. So the Stoic becomes selective. They stop calling everything food. They stop calling every craving hunger. They stop trusting a culture that profits from their confusion. They slow down. They simplify. They cleanse. Not to be better than others, but to better serve their own mind. Imagine starting the day not with a dopamine spike, but with fiber, water, stillness, no crash, no regret, no guilt, just clean fuel and clean thought. That's the reward, not the taste, not the trend, the mental return. And it's in that space, when the gut is no longer screaming, that you remember who you are. You become unshakable, not from motivation, but from regulation. You think deeper, speak calmer, react slower, lead stronger, because the body is aligned. and the mind is free. The Stoic way to eat isn't about perfection, it's about protection. Not about looking strong, but thinking strong. Food becomes fuel, not distraction, not entertainment, not escape. And when you eat this way, you don't just get healthier, you become more you. Discipline isn't in what you do, it's in what you don't do, what you resist, what you say no to, what you let pass without grabbing it. That's why fibermaxing matters more than people think. Because choosing fiber isn't just about digestion, it's about direction. You're telling your body, we're not chasing taste anymore, we're chasing clarity. The Stoic doesn't live for pleasure, they live for purpose. And nothing exposes your level of discipline like what's on your plate. Anyone can eat whatever's in front of them. Anyone can cave to cravings. But the Stoic pauses. They decide. Not reactively, not emotionally, deliberately. They understand you are what you can resist. And if you can't resist sugar, impulse, dopamine, then what else will control you? If you fold over a craving, how will you stand against chaos? If you binge to feel good now, what will you sacrifice long term? Marcus Aurelius didn't build mental steel by pleasing his appetite. He trained it, quietly, daily, patiently. So should you. Each time you choose fiber, each time you bypass temptation, you train the muscle that most people ignore, restraint. And here's the secret. Over time, restraint becomes peace. You're not fighting anymore. You're not negotiating with every craving. You're not at war with yourself. You simply know what you need, and you act on it. No drama, no collapse, just quiet command. Others may joke, that's just a salad. That's just psyllium husk. But they don't see what you're building. They don't see the clarity you're claiming. They don't see the war you've stopped feeding. It's not about food. It's about freedom. Freedom from urges. Freedom from guilt. Freedom from regret. The Stoic doesn't eat to cope. They eat to continue, to stay sharp, to stay grounded, to stay aligned. And alignment, that's the real reward. Look around. The world eats without thinking. Fast, reactive, emotional, disconnected. But the Stoic eats with intention. Not because it's trendy, but because it's strategic. You see, food is more than fuel. It's a message. Every bite says something to your body, to your mind, to your future. So ask yourself, are you eating like a leader or a follower? Followers eat what's easy, what's popular, what feels good right now. Leaders eat what builds them, what strengthens them, what frees them. Because the Stoic understands every meal is a decision, clarity or clutter, control or chaos, discipline or default. And when you fibermax, you're choosing clarity again and again. You're not chasing a six-pack, you're chasing sovereignty over your reactions, your urges, your emotions. Seneca once said, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." And modern adversity? It's the buffet, the quick fix, the easy dopamine. So you prove yourself in the small choices. No sugar rush, no afternoon crash, no brain fog at 2 p.m., just clean thought, quiet strength, steady mind. That's the reward. And here's the truth. Nobody will clap for your fiber. No one will praise your psyllium husk. No one will post about your gut health. But you'll feel it. In your calm, in your focus, in your self-respect. The world may never notice, but you will never forget. Because you led yourself, silently, deliberately, powerfully. And that's what it means to eat like a Stoic. Not for pleasure, but for power. Not to escape, but to elevate. So go ahead. Eat what aligns. Refuse what weakens. Lead from your gut. And let your mind follow.